So when do students leave? Okay. When do you think most of the students leave Sacramento State? Just yell it out. What's that? Sophomore. Sophomore? Freshman. Senior. Okay, we're just getting them all down, right? Yeah. We're going to do a bell curve. Well, I don't have the data specifically from Sacramento, but this nationally. Okay, we knew that 49% after 6 years attained a degree, and of the dropouts, 5% left, this is all institutions, left during the first year. Another 7% left during the second year. 8% during the third year. The number's growing. But we're told that it happens in the first year. 13% leave in the fourth or later. Now, for those people who study this and work in student success, we're never told this story. We're never told that story. That's critical. And then after 6 years, 15% are still enrolled. The reality is, most of those 15% I don't think will complete. They haven't completed yet, but they're still in there. And this is the same graphic for four-year publics. Okay? And it's actually even more so at that. You can see, look at these later. So what matters to student success? Now there's a lot of data up here. I'm not focused. All the data up here support exactly what I'm going to say. You can just trust me. Does risk matter? When we look at students, risk is part-time enrollment. How many people here? 1 out of 5, part-time. And part-time, that's not always a bad thing. They're here. That's good. Delayed entry into post-secondary after high school. If you stop out, it's a challenge. Not having a regular high school diploma, having children, being a single parent, being financially independent of parents, working full-time while enrolled. Those are the risk factors that we put into the analysis. Okay? And what it basically says, if you don't have any risk factors, 54% get a BA. If you have 1 risk factor, that goes to 21%. 10% if you have 2, 5% if you have 3. So risk matters. Does attendance matter? 45% of full-timers, okay? Always part-time, 1% get a BA. 21% of mixed. So that matters. Does work matter? It does. And we were having this discussion before. Work's not a bad thing. It's actually proven to be beneficial to graduation. But too much work isn't a good thing. 49% bachelor degree attainment rate for those who worked 1 to 19 hours. But once they got into 20 to 29, it dropped. 30 to 39 dropped, and more. Do degree plans matter? They do. Guess what? If you plan to get a bachelor's degree, 60% of you will get a bachelor's degree. Okay? If you plan to get an associate's, 11% will. Okay? And that's maybe okay. But the red bars, if you plan to get an associate's, 2/3 of you never get one. Does delayed enrollment matter? Yes, it does. Those who don't delay, more likely to succeed. Red is bad. That's delayed between the high school and post-secondary. So that would matter for 75% of your students. Because 74, 26% are adult. Do high school college credits matter? They do. 56% that had some college credit in high school tend to get a BA, 29% of those who didn't. So I'm just going through a few of these quickly. It'll end soon. The pain will be done. Does high school GPA matter? It does, largely. So what are the barriers to college? These are kind of them. And I'm going to go through them rapidly here, because there's something else I want to show you. College knowledge. All this is to do to show you this, is that when we talk to those 8th graders, okay, when we asked 8th graders if they plan to go to college, almost all of them said yes. Matter of fact, the lowest number there is 94%. What does 94% mean? That means 19 out of 20 students said they were going to college, regardless of their income, race, ethnicity, or parents' highest level of education. But within 2 years of scheduled high school graduation, this is what happened. Look at that. 93% of high income actually went. 2/3 of low income went. So it went from 94 expected to 64. What happened between 8th grade and high school graduation? What's that? Maybe. Work. He said work got to them. Possible. Yep. Yeah, that's the one I worry about the most. He said discouraged about going to college. I think what happens is to the 8th grader, yeah, I'm going to college. Then reality smacks them in the face. And they self-select themselves out of the college spiral, as we like to call it. They self-select by not taking the courses. Either they're told they can't take those courses because they're just not smart enough, which I've rarely met anyone who isn't smart enough. I've met a lot of people who are underprepared, but plenty of smarts. And I love the fact when we talk about low-hanging fruit, one of the low-hanging fruit is what courses do we require students to take as core in a bachelor's program? This is a pet peeve of mine. Let's face it, there's some students that can't stand mathematics. I loved math, loved it. So taking calculus, it was hard and stuff like that, but I liked it for the most part. Okay. But for others, we've already put them through 12 years of mathematics. And excuse me, they sucked at it. Okay. Some people are not wired to do well in mathematics. So what's the first thing we shove in their face to finish a college degree? I'm going to do arts and letters, and I want to be a journalist, like my son does. Scared crapless. In this day and age, to be a journalist. But that's what he wants to do. Okay? He can't stand math, but it's the course he had to keep on taking and could not pass. It's going to have no relationship to his ability to write. He's a phenomenal writer. He's got this great way of thinking. I see it on Facebook all the time. Yeah. But we choose these core courses, and I'm going, why? Well, we're trying to make them well-rounded. Yeah. In your world ethos, that's what well-rounded is. How about in theirs? Pet peeve. So student aspirations. It's not going to show up. I'm sorry, these aren't going to show up right. So I think I'm going to have to, I don't know why. There's supposed to be a whole bunch on the left, and that's probably because of the font change. I did it on a Mac. So you can see it later. It's kind of funny, but it's hilarious, actually. I just can't show it to you. It's the best part of the whole presentation. So college and career counseling. This is another one of those barrier issues. Guess what? You're it. If a student comes in and isn't sure what he or she wants to do, tag, you are it. You have to help them figure out what they want to be when they grow up. Paula Poundstone tells the joke. She says, you ever notice how old men are always asking little kids what they want to be when they grow up? They're trying to find ideas. You know, do your students know what they want to do? Okay. We have to have plans in place to counsel students in. If they don't know when they come in, and I think a majority of students aren't quite sure what they want to do, but they want to go to college because we tell them that that is the pathway to a wonderful career, to a wonderful social being, to being a positive citizen, a world citizen. Our youth here get that. It's one of the reasons they're here. That doesn't mean they know what they want to be. We have to help them get there. I'm going to skip that. So here's the big one, college affordability. Now, this is hard to see, but I'll tell you what this chart says, and you can look at it later. It says that approximately every 20 years now, tuition doubles. I'm sorry, fees double. And in California, or at least here, something about room and board. I don't get it. But it doubles, and that's inflation-adjusted dollars. So if it's $6,700, let's round it to $7,000, makes the math easier. If it's $7,000 in fees to come to Sacramento State right now, we go 20 years in advance, it'll be the same as pulling out $14,000 today. So I've taken inflation out of it. Okay, that's not inflation. That number will be way bigger than that. Okay, because we're putting on around 3% inflation a year. But pull out $14,000 a year today. That's what the burden will be like. Now add on room and board, which inflates at the same rate. Whew. You want to talk about affordability? This is nothing. And it happens at almost every level. And then there's cultural barriers and structural barriers. Cultural barriers, we like to default easily say, well, that's a black, white, Asian, Native American issue. That's one form of cultural barrier. That's only one. One is urbanicity. Okay? Whether you grew up in a small town and you're coming to a large town, whether you're an urban person and you're going to a rural place, there's all these different factors that are you comfortable with? Has a whole lot to do with whether you succeed. Whether you have precedent with your family on going to college. Does that matter in terms of student success? Huge, because there's a pathway that's already been plowed. That's why still, when we talk about ROI on this, as expensive as it is, education is that one thing that truly transforms the cyclical nature of families. It's the one thing you can't take away. I've got 3 college degrees, way overeducated. I did it smart. I didn't spend a lot of money. I was smart about it, and if students want to hear that story later, they can. But I was pretty smart about it. And but if I think of all that time in college, and what I learned and what I didn't learn, at sometimes you go, did I need to go to that much college? I did, because we're a credentialed society. I needed a PhD. I couldn't do some of the things I do today. I could have the knowledge, but if I didn't have those letters, can't get in the door, can't play the game.